Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make any website you need to create for absolutely any business with no coding needed. So we're going to cover every single step in the process from start to finish so that by the end of this video, you're going to have a really beautifully designed website for your business like any of these, or really honestly any combination of any of these that you're going to create simply by choosing a base layout first, then customizing it with your own elements, your own content, images, colors, fonts, all that good stuff. And then, if you want, you can make it even more custom by just dragging and dropping any element you want to include, or by adding in any whole section that your content needs, choosing from hundreds of pro-designed, fully customizable layout blocks. And then with just a few extra clicks, we're going to make sure that each page looks perfect on all your mobile devices too. So I've personally created hundreds of websites like these for just about every type of business out there using this exact method. It couldn't be any easier, and the possibilities are truly limitless. I think you're honestly going to forget that you ever needed a web designer or a developer to do this kind of thing for you. And in case you ever want to skip to a specific step in the process, I have included chapter markers below this video down in the description just so for easy reference. So if you're ready, we're going to start from the very beginning by getting you set up with a free domain name like yourbusiness.com, for instance, as well as a huge discount on the easiest, most reliable, and cheapest web hosting plan that I personally always use and recommend. So, and in case you don't really know what web hosting is, it's really just a name for the digital storage for all of your website files, your web pages, your images. All that stuff needs to be stored on a really reliable computer somewhere. So to get that, you just want to go to wesmcdowell.com/hosting to get my affiliate discount pricing on web hosting, along with that free domain name. So just go to wesmcdowell.com/hosting and we can get started right now. Okay, so when you follow that link, wesmcdowell.com/hosting, you're going to end up right here. So as you can see, you've got quite a discount, $295 as opposed to $899 a month. And you've got all kinds of great stuff with Bluehost. You've got expert 24/7 support. I hardly need them, but when I do, they're right there. And it's just a really easy way to get your WordPress set up. And you do get that free domain name if you need it. So I'm just going to click on Get Started. We're going to get through this pretty quickly. Okay, so now it's time to choose your plan. Basic is just fine as long as you're just creating one website. If you're a web designer creating multiple sites for clients and you want staging servers, then go with one of these. But if you're just a business, all you need is this $295 a month plan. So I'm going to click on Select. Now here's where you can either use a domain you own. So if you already have a .com you want to use, you would just type that in here and it'll walk you through the steps of transferring it. Or if you want a brand new domain, all you need to do is see if the one you want is available. So I would just type in yourmostprofitableWebsite.com and we'll see if that's available. Click on Next. All right, we are in business. It's available. So all you need to do from here is input all of your billing information, choose your account plan. So basically it is cheaper the longer out you go with 36 months, but you can go down to 12 months. That's fine too. Then we have all these extras. So I like to just uncheck all of them. I don't think any of them are that necessary. And I'll click on Turn It Off. This one, Domain Privacy and Protection, is the only one you might consider that's going to keep your name off potentially being on any spam lists. But I've actually not really encountered that. So it's up to you if you want to keep that checked or not. And then enter in your payment information and check right here and then click on Submit. Okay, so when everything goes through, all you have to do is click on Create Your Account. You've already got your domain name here. Now you're just going to create your password. And I'm just going to use the one that they got for me. I'm just going to take note of it. I'm just going to do a copy. Then click right here to show that you've read and agreed, and then create account. Now go to login, and then type in your password, and then log in. Just going to save it. Okay, now create your website. I'm going to choose skip this step, and I'm going to keep choosing saying skip this. And then I'm finally going to choose limitless customization. And they're going to ask you a few things. What type is it? Let's just say Just choose the type of your business. Or, we can actually just click on skip this step. I'm going to do that. Now here's where you want to put in the name of your business or the name of your website. Tagline's not that important. I'm going to skip that and click continue. We actually do not need to pick our theme here because the next step we do is going to take care of that for us. So I'm going to click on skip this step for now. They're installing WordPress. And now we're ready to actually log into WordPress where the fun can begin. So just click right over here. Okay, so we're now inside of our WordPress dashboard. Actually, if we click right here, we're actually in the dashboard where you would be when you log in to WordPress each time. So a few things I want to show you real quick before we get started. So within WordPress, the side panels where you're going to go, this is where most of your options are. So whenever you write a blog post, for instance, you can click on posts, add new, same with pages. But the main thing I actually want to talk about right now is users, because you didn't actually choose a password for WordPress yet. So we're going to go ahead and click on users, all users. Now, when you signed up, it did create a user account for you. So I'm just going to click on edit, and I'm going to go down to the bottom. And it allows you to put in your first name, your last name, all that stuff. The really important thing though is that it has your email correct and that it has your password. So change it to something you'll remember and then click on update profile. Then whenever you need to log back into your account, you just go to yourwebsitename.com/wp-admin. You're going to put in your username and your password. So the only thing left before we can start building is we need to add the right plugin. So let's go over to plugins on the left side. And I just want to do a little cleanup here. So I'm going to click on dismiss. I'm going to get rid of all of these annoying pop-ups. This is up to you if you want to do it or not. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose all of these plugins and I'm going to deactivate all of them and I'm going to choose them again. And then I'm going to delete them and then click on apply. Now we're going to add in the only plugin we actually need, and that is called Starter Templates. So just type that in the search bar. And this is the one right here. It's got over 1 million installs. It's a great plugin. So I'm going to click on install and activate. So what this is doing is it's getting us set up with the page builder we need, as well as the theme we need, which is Astra. Now just click on See Library. And here it's going to ask you which page builder you want. We want Elementor. It's definitely the best one. It's all I recommend. All right, so here are all the choices we have now for different website layouts we can pick from, and there are a ton of them. So I'm going to make it a little easier right out of the gate. So some of these you'll see are marked premium. I'm just going to go ahead and under all and choose free. And that eliminates all the ones that you would actually have to pay for. So now we're still left with quite a few of these. And I will say, let me just try to get rid of this down here. I guess I can't. But basically, a lot of people get really caught up in the images and the colors and even how they designate, marketing agency, online health coach. These are just things they've kind of designated. There is nothing to say once you switch out the text and the images that this has to be for an online health coach, or that this has to be for a steakhouse or a digital agency. And I guess mountains have websites too, who knew? But basically, it's all about looking for the right layout for your content. And that's it, because the images and the colors and all the content is going to change anyway. So having said that, I'm going to get started using this one, Outdoor Adventure. I find this one to be a really nice starting point. It's very simple. It allows us to customize what works and really easily add in extra sections and delete sections that don't work so well. So all we need to do is just click on it. And now you're going to see all of the pages that this website comes with. So, and you can click on them and you can scroll down and see what you're working with as a starting point. Remember, keeping in mind, if we don't like this section, we delete it. We replace it with another section that works better, and we can rearrange stuff. It's all super customizable. But these are all the pages it comes with right out of the box. And again, there is nothing to say this has to be an About Us page. You change the name, you change some of the content on it, it becomes something else. Same with projects. This could be a testimonials page if you wanted it to be. So don't think about getting locked into what they have here for you. But this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with this version of a website. But even if you chose something else, this is all going to work very much the same way, no matter which layout you choose. So I'm going to click down on Import Complete Site, and it's just going to have you answer a few questions. Myself, then Next, then I just click Skip. And it's just going to take a few minutes to import all of the files and all of the plugins, including the Astra theme and our Elementor page builder. Okay, so this message says everything's been imported successfully, which is awesome. So now we'll just click on View Site to see what it is we are working with. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a homepage here. All these sections are pre-laid out. Then this is the best part about that Starter Templates plugin. It comes with all the pages and they're all linked together so you can get all the pages. We'll just go through them one by one. We're going to go back to home now. And when you want to start editing, all we need to do is go up to Edit with Elementor. That's our page building plugin. Okay, so here we are inside of Elementor for the first time. So if you've never used this before, I'm going to walk you through it really quickly. So on the right side, we have, what I call the stage area. This is basically the preview. This is the website laid out in a visual way. And anything you click on over here can be edited over on the left side panel, text, images, any of that good stuff. And then over here on the side panel, we have our widgets. Otherwise known, basically all the different elements that make up a website, from headings to images, text editors, something like this, videos, buttons, Google Maps. I mean, they've got a ton of them here. Some of them are paid. A lot of them are free. The ones you really need will be free. So again, you drag anything you need over here, and then you click on it, and then you edit it over here. It's actually really easy, and you're gonna get the hang of it really quick, I promise. So the first thing we wanna do before we can start editing this homepage is basically setting up our fonts. So if you have fonts you wanna use, first of all, if these fonts look good to you, and for the most part, they're pretty well thought out and they work. It's a nice kind of modern look, but if you have fonts you want to use, there's a few ways you can change them. The first way is kind of a pain, which is clicking on each instance of it, then going over to Style, Typography, and then under Family, this is where you change the font. But what I like to do instead is just take care of all the fonts globally. So it's just basically going to be the fonts you want to start with. So the way we do that is we go up to this little hamburger menu, these three lines, and then go to Site Settings. So from there, we're going to go to Typography. Now, this is going to let us set our fonts that we want to use for our headers and our just normal body text on the page. So the first thing we're going to start with, let's just start with the body copy. I'm going to go to Typography and then click this little pencil icon. And by the way, you have access to thousands of Google fonts for free. So if you ever want to explore and see what your options are, just go to the Google Fonts website and check out everything. So I've got a good clean body copy font I like to use called Montserrat. We'll go ahead and use that for the body. You can change the sizing, but I think this actually looks pretty good right here. You can change the weight. So, if you wanted all your body copy fonts to be bold, I don't recommend that, but you could do that. You can change line height, which is basically the space between the lines here. But I actually think this looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave it. All right, so let's go now to our headings. So quick crash course in headings. They're labeled H1, which is always the big one on a page, the main headline. Then H2 would be probably like this guy, and this guy would be H2s. Then like this would be an H3 probably. So it's a nested order of importance of headings. So anyway, I've got a few picked out here. So under H1 for this big one, I'm going to go to Typography and I'm going to look up Spartan. It's a nice clean one. And I'm going to also get rid of the uppercase. I don't want it to be all uppercase. So the way we do that is we go to Transform. I'm just going to hit Normal. And then however you type it in is how it's going to be. Now, what about this one right here? So I'm going to go ahead and go to H2, Typography. And I've got a different font picked out here. I'm going to do something a little more kind of ornate. So I'm going to do DM Serif Display. And they actually didn't take care of that one, but that's what it looks like right here. And I'm also going to get rid of the uppercase. So I'm going to go to Transform, Normal. And I'm going to do the same thing for for H2 through H4. So I'm going to quickly do that right now. Okay, so now we've got all the fonts kind of taken care of. And once you've got them how you want, all we need to do is click on Update. And now we can actually get started with this homepage. So I'm going to click on Back to Editor, or we could also just click on the X up here. I'll just do that. Okay, so let's start editing our first section. This is the hero section at the top of your homepage. So the first thing we want to do is let's talk about editing this text. You obviously want to put in your own headline. So you're just going to click on this element, the heading element. You'll go over to the left and you'll just type in whatever you want your headline to be. You can also change the style. Let's say you wanted to change the color or the size of this. You could go up to Style, and then under Text Color, that's where you choose, you can slide this around, you can slide this around. You can even make it less, you can make it more see-through, more transparent with this bar. So there's a lot of possibilities here. I don't recommend going crazy. I'm just going to leave it on white in this particular case. And then, under typography, that's where you'd change the sizing. You can make it super big. You can change the weight. You could make it, less bold if you wanted to. I'm just going to put it back on default, and I'm going to put it back on default here as well. So now let's talk about this element. A lot of these themes on starter templates love to put these little, mini headlines above headlines. I'm not exactly sure why, but let's talk about moving stuff and deleting stuff because that's going to come up. So I want this to be the subheadline under this. I think it makes more sense. To do that, we just got to grab it by the pencil icon right here and then put it right underneath the headline. You just drag stuff wherever you want it to go. And then this little divider line, I don't think we need it. If you wanted to drag it between these, you could. I'm going to right click, delete. Now let's change this text again. We just click on it and then we go over to content. This is important. So there's different things you can edit under these different elements. You're mostly going to be dealing with content and style. So think of content as the words or the actual image, then style is the styling of it, right? It makes sense. So I'm just going to put my new text here. And let's go to style. I want to kind of make this look a little nicer. So I'm going to go to typography. I might make it slightly bigger. I might go to, let's see, style. I might want to do oblique. I think that looks pretty good. And what if I want less space between this and this? Because right now I feel like there's quite a gap. Here's how you do it. So I'm going to click on the headline. This is where we go to advanced. Don't worry, it's simple. Padding is where we've got too much of it between the G here and the border. So we've got 20 on the bottom. I'm just going to see what 0 looks like. Already that looks better. Yeah, I think that looks good. I'll leave it just like that. So now let's talk about the button. We can obviously do a lot. We can change the text. We can change the color. We can change where it links to, all that good stuff. So I'm just going to click on that. And under text, I'm going to type in a new call to action. And then under link, this is where at the end, you're going to go ahead and put in all your links. So if this goes to your contact us page, you're going to build the contact page. You'll copy that web address of it. Like that would be something like yourbusiness.com/contact. And then you would paste that in right here. You could add an icon to the button by clicking here and then just, finding one you like. You can change the positioning of it. You can change the style of that. I'm just going to get rid of it though. I don't think it's necessary. And now let's change the style of it. So let's go up to style and we can change the font if we want by going to typography. But all I really want to do here is change the color. So I'm going to go to, you could change the text color here if you wanted to do that. I'm just going to change the background though. So you can choose between a solid color, they call it classic, or a gradient if you wanted. And you would just choose 2 colors, something like that. But let's just go back to classic and I'm going to choose, I've got a color code all picked out. So if you have that, you can just type it in. Here's a tip for you. So if you know you're going to be using a color more than once on the site, all you need to do is choose it and then click on the little plus icon. That's going to save it for you. And then you can name it here if you want to. You don't have to do that. And I'm just going to click on create. That way, whenever I want to use that color, it's there, it's ready for me. And you can do things too. So a lot of these have these it's kind of a pill shape. It's rounded on each side. If you wanted to do a more traditional looking button with it squared off, you would just need to go to border radius and type in 0, and that's gonna get rid of those edges for you. And then you can bring the border radius up. I don't know how well you can see this, but it basically kind of subtly rounds off the edges. But let's just put it back to where it was. I'm just gonna ratchet this all the way up till it's round. Perfect. Okay, so now let's talk about the background image. That's going to make the biggest impact here visually. So to do that, all we need to do is choose the entire section, and that's right up here. We're going to click on these 6 dots, or we can just right click, edit section, and then we're going to go up to style. So they've already got this image here. All we need to do is click on choose image. And from here, you've got some options. If you already have an image you want to use, you just drag the file right over here onto the screen and then click Insert Media. Or you can actually get access to thousands of, probably hundreds of thousands of free stock images. And don't worry, they all look stretched out in this view. I don't know why. They don't look like that when you actually choose it. But you could type in like, any kind of keywords here and it's going to pop up for you. Honestly, these are not the most high quality stock images in the world. You can find some good stuff, but I've got a few images I want to use myself that I've already imported in. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to use this one right here and then click on Insert Media. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. If you want to get a true preview of what it's going to look like without these bounding boxes and without the sidebar, just collapse it by clicking on this button right here. And now we can see what we're doing. And don't worry, we will be getting to this header later on in the video. So we're gonna be dealing with that for most of the video, but we'll do that last. Okay, so I think we're safe now to move on to our next section. And it comes with this one, it's kind of a quote. I don't think it's needed. Let's say this does not fit our content. Or if it does, feel free to customize it. You should already know by now how to click it and edit the actual text, edit the style over here. But if you wanted to change it for something new, there's a few steps. All you gotta do is click on the X, that deletes it. Then we're gonna click on the plus sign to add a new section. So there are a few ways of adding a new section. One is where you basically just choose how many columns you want, and then you drag and drop individual widgets into place, and then you customize the look of those. We will get to that a little later in this video. But for now, let's start off nice and easy. And I'm just going to show you starter template blocks that you can use. So let's click on the starter templates icon right here. And rather than pages, we're going to go over to blocks instead. And as you can see, there are quite a few content layout blocks here. Now, they all look very boring because it's all black and white images. But don't worry, again, we're customizing this. We're adding our own images and our own colors. So all we're really trying to find is the right layout. So you can scroll through all of these if you want to find what's going to work best. It's actually not a bad idea to see what your options are, but you can also look them up by topic. So if you click this, you can look for About Us sections or team sections, testimonial sections. All these different kinds of sections exist. But let's say you just wanted to do a simple About section. I'm going to click that, and we'll just find something that would fit our content. So let's say we wanted to have an image and a headline and a little bit of text. So I'm going to click on this guy right here and then import block. All right, and I'm just going to close this out so we see what we're actually working with. So what would we do here, right? The first thing would be we'd click here, we'd change our headline. We could change the color of this text, the spacing if we go to style. And I actually do want to fix this line spacing. It's a little broad for me. So I'm going to go to typography and under line height, I'm just going to play around with it till it looks good. I think that looks much better. And then of course we would change this text over here. We can add to it. Let's just say it's, a little bit longer, a little more like that. And by the way, anything that's a text editor, not a headline editor. You can't make something bold and not bold and change colors in the headline editor, but you can in the text editor. So click here, let's say we wanted to start off with some bold text. We can do that. We can add a link to certain text. So let's say you wanted to link this somewhere else. You would just click here and then you would type in the actual URL right here and then click apply, but we're not going to do that. All right, now the image. Let's click on that and then click on choose image. And now again, you would just drag over any image you wanted to use. I'm just going to choose this one and click on insert. And there are a few things you can do here as well. So if you wanted to have these be kind of more rounded edges, which can be cool sometimes, it gives it a more friendly look. I think you just play around with it till it looks good. You've even got a few more cool things now. I've actually been waiting for them to add this for a while, and I'm glad they did. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Go up to advanced, and then under mask, if you turn that on, you can now play around with all these different kind of shapes that your images can fit into. It could be a circle, it could be, let's see, flower, sketch, blob is pretty trendy right now. Of course, it doesn't really work in this case. You know, you've got all kinds of options here in terms of the image. So let's go back to circle and I'll show you. So basically, if we wanted to center her more, let's play around with that. Let's do custom positioning, and then we can drag the circle into the exact position we want it to be in. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to turn that off for now though, just keep it simple. And now we're going to move on. So I think this is another section we don't necessarily need. Again, if you wanted to work with it, you would just click on the image, you'd replace it, you'd click on the text, you'd replace that, and you already know how to customize a button as well. So I'm going to X this one out, get rid of it, and I'm gonna click on the plus sign. So let's say we wanted to add a new section here talking about our features or our benefits. I'm just gonna click on the starter templates icon once more, go to blocks, of course, and I'm gonna look up, I'm just gonna go by features and see what we've got there. So I'm just gonna look for a layout that's interesting, that's gonna fit our content the best, and I think I like this one. So I'm gonna click right there, and then import block. And of course, we'll get rid of that as well. Okay, so let's talk about all of this. So basically, what would we do? Again, we're going to customize our text. And I'll go up to style. I'm once again going to make the line height a little bit better. Maybe make the size a little bit bigger. Let's see what that looks like. I think that looks good. And then let's say we wanted to work with this time. I'm just going to type in benefits, then I'll go up to style. Let's go ahead and change the text color. Let's just change it to our blue color. And then typography, I'm going to make it a little less bold. So I'm going to click on normal. And I want this all to be uppercase. So I'm going to go to transform uppercase. And what about letter spacing? I'm actually going to drag this out a bit. I think that looks pretty good. And then of course we could change that text. We know how to do that. So now let's talk about these guys over here. So these are what I call compound widgets. Okay, so if you click on it, you'll notice within the same space over here, we're dealing with all three elements. We're dealing with the icon, the headline, and the description text. And the cool thing is, if we get the look of it just right on the first one, we can paste that style onto the other ones. So we basically only have to do it once. So let's get to work on this one. Let's talk about our icon first. So there's a few different things you can do. Under view, we can do default, which is how it looks now, or stacked, which is where it goes on a shape. You can choose a circle or a square, or you can just have it framed with a circle or a square too. I think I'm gonna go with stacked. And then let's go up to style. And here's where you can choose, the colors for it. So if you clicked here, you could kind of drag it around. This is gonna be the background color. I've already got one picked out. I'm gonna type that in. And then of course, white doesn't show up very well in yellow. So let's go ahead and make that black. I'm just gonna click here and then choose the second color. I'm actually gonna make it a little less than black, a little more charcoaly, something like this. Looks good. And I actually forgot to save our yellow color. So I'm gonna click on the plus icon and click on create so we can use that again. Okay, so still under style, now let's get to work on our text. So under content, we basically can edit our title and our description separately. So we can change the spacing between the description and the headline if we want to. I think that looks fine. We could change the color if we wanted to. I think it's good though. Typography, let's go ahead and change the font here. Let's change it to our other font, our Spartan font. And let's make it, let's see. So all these numbers basically under weight. A lot of fonts have a lot of different weights to them, not just bold and normal. So lots of options. And then under transform, I'm gonna say uppercase. And then I'm gonna make the sizing slightly smaller as well. Okay, so actually let's make this more like, I think that looks nicer. Okay, cool. So let's say we love this. We will like it as is. All we need to do now is right click copy. Then we'll go to the other ones, right click, paste style, paste style, paste style. Now we seem to have lost our little icons here. So all I'm going to do is click on update, and then I'm going to do a page refresh. Okay, and that got them back. Just goes to show you sometimes things will be a little buggy here, and all you really have to do is that. Just save your work and refresh the page, and you should be good to go. The one thing we haven't talked about here is the icons, like choosing which ones you want to use. So that's super easy too. Just click on whichever one you want to work with. And then under content, you're just going to go to icon library, and you can look through everything. There's a bunch of them, or you can do a search. Keep in mind, they're not always named as you would think they would be named. So sometimes it does take a little bit of extra work to find the one you want. But once you do, you just find it, you just click on it, and then click on insert, and you're good to go. So, but let's do one more thing. Let's say we want these two icons to be a different color. Just gonna click there, go to style, primary color. I'm going to type in my new color. Cool, and I'm gonna save that as well. And I'm gonna do a right click copy, right click paste style. Cool. And we can obviously change the background color by clicking on the section. Let's go up to style. You've got some options here actually. For every section, you've got all these background options of a solid color or a gradient, which I've seen a lot of people get in trouble with this, to be honest with you. If you're going to do a gradient, make sure you have a good grasp of what colors are gonna look good together. I've seen this go wrong way too many times. You can do a video, which we'll talk about later, or you could do a slideshow. But I'm just gonna go back to classic, and I actually really like this light gray. I tend to like websites being laid out this way, just an image and then white and then something nice and neutral, and then you'll go to maybe another image next. So little pro tip for you in the design department. Oh, or you could put a background image in here too, just like we did in the hero section. Let's actually play around with that. Let's try a background image here actually. So I'm gonna click on the whole section. Under background, we'll go to under image, choose image. I've actually got one here. I'm going to drag it right in and then insert media. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good. And I do want to show you a few things. So basically, first of all, see how this image scrolls with you as you scroll, and this one up top does not. That stays in place and everything scrolls around it, which I kind of prefer that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Super easy. You just go under image, under attachment, fixed. That keeps it in place as you scroll. All right, so moving on to our next section. I'm actually not going to delete this one because we'll get to it in a minute, but I want a new section between this one and this one. So how do we do it? We click on the little plus sign, and here is where I'm going to show you how to create a section from scratch. And we'll start off really easy. It's a nice, easy one. We're going to click on the plus sign, and we're going to choose how many columns we want it to be. I'm going to choose one column. Then from here, we just go up to this little grid, and then we start dragging and dropping our different elements into place that we want. So what we want is a heading first. Then what I want to actually have is 3 different services. We're showing our 3 services we offer here. So in order to do that in a 1-column layout, go back up to widgets, we're going to drag an inner section. We're getting a little fancy here, but it's not that fancy, don't worry. So this just lets us put in multiple columns within a 1-column layout. And we do need that to keep our headline and then these guys in the same section. So I'm actually going to increase this to 3 columns. It comes with 2 by default. So all we got to do is right click, add new column, and we're good to go. Now, in order just to feel better about this, because it's so tight right now, I'm just going to click on the whole section. I'm going to give this more room to breathe. So we'll go up to advanced, and then we'll go into padding, and I'm going to give it padding on the top and the bottom. This is important. Look what happens if I type in 50. It'll do it on all sides. We don't need it on the left and right. We just need it on the top and bottom. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to click this to unlink the values so they're all separate. So I'm just going to do 50 on top, 50 on bottom. So now let's go back up to our widgets, and we need to add our services in here. So what I'm going to be looking for is an image. I'm just going to type in image box. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to drag that right into place into our first column. And we're just going to deal with the first one because we're going to get it how we want it. We're going to copy and paste it and then just change out the content. So first of all, let's change our headline. And I'm going to center that right down here. Now let's get to work on our image box. So again, this is another compound widget similar to these where we have everything controlled in one panel. We have the image, headline, description. So first thing is to choose the image. Let's click there. I've got one picked out. Click on Insert Media. And you'll see how small it is. And here's why. Let's go up to Style. And basically this is set for the image to take up only 30% of the width, which, we want it to be 100%. So let's just type that in. But, depending on the look you're going for, it can be anything. It could be somewhere around here, all the way up to 100%. You can change the border radius if you want to. Let's change that maybe to 20. And then we obviously change the heading. So let's go back up to content. We type in the name of our service or whatever it is you're doing here. And you would type in a short description of it as well. And then under style, we can change, if we go down to content, I think I want this text to be slightly smaller. We can obviously change the color here, typography here. Let's change the sizing to about like that. And then under weight, actually slightly higher, 20. Weight, let's make it normal. And let's say we wanted this to link to a certain page on the website that would be all about this service. Well, all we need is a button. So go back up to widgets, button, drag it right underneath. We'll center it. We'll type in something like learn more. We could add an icon to that if we want. Remember, icon library. Just going to type in an arrow. Let's see what we can find. All right, something like this is good. Insert, and I'll put it icon position after. So it's after learn more. That looks better. And then let's change the color by going up to style. And then background color, let's choose one of the colors we already have, like our yellow. And then we would change the text color to, black or close to it. Okay, let's see what we've got. It looks pretty good. So now let's just go ahead and copy what we've got into the other columns. I'm going to do a copy, paste, paste, and I'll do the same thing here. Copy, paste, paste. So now I do think these are a little too close to each other. I'll show you how we counteract that. All we need to do is go choose this little intersection and under layout, columns gap. That's how we change it. So let's just look and see what wide looks like. Much better, I think. From here, we just change the images on each individual one. And then we change the text on each one as well. Now, ideally, you'll see that this one, it kind of looks different than the other two because the image itself is just a different dimension. So if that bothered you and you want them all to be the same, you just need to make sure the images you're choosing are all the same relative, same ratio of dimensions. But I actually think that looks kind of cool that way. Now let's just go ahead and change this button color. I'm going to click on that, go to style, and I'm going to choose our other light blue color. All right, let's take a look at what we've got. And I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and expand this out and get customizing our next section, this one. So first of all, what do? We change the text. And I'm going to fix the line height, back on style, typography, line height. I'm going to do a 1.1. And I will delete this little divider line here. But if you ever wanted to edit one of those, you just kind of can play around with the width here. You can see it's getting longer. And you can change the style of it. There's all these different things here. So there's tons of different things you can do. And of course, on style, you can change the color. But I'm just going to click on right-click, delete. And then you would change the text here and the button here. So I'm going to click on that. Style. Actually, so we could just edit this, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to right-click the one we already have, and then right-click, paste. And then I'm just going to delete this one. Cool. And then you can left justify it to go along with the rest of it if you wanted to. And now I'm just going to change out the background image. So again, we choose the whole section, go up to style, then choose image, and I'm going to choose this one, insert media, and there we go. One thing I do want to show you too that we haven't really dove into yet is this background overlay. So you'll notice this is quite a bit darker than the actual image itself is. The reason is we add an overlay so that the text can be more easily read. So what we want to do if we want to mess with that, collapse background, go to background overlay. It already has one here, but you can choose the color of it. I generally recommend sticking with black. Again, this is an area where I've seen people get in trouble. A lot of people will do kind of like a white overlay, and I think that just looks washed out. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to choose a black one, and then you can change the opacity of it, make it more transparent. What we're really looking for here is how dark does it need to be before the text can be read? So I think something like this looks pretty good. So now let's see what this looks like in a true preview of it. And I think that looks pretty good. And if we wanted this column to be bigger, we can just kind of drag it like this, or we can make it smaller by dragging it like this. I think something like, let's see. I think that looks pretty good just like that. Okay, so now let's look at our next section. So again, this is an instance of one that I think we don't really need. Of course, if you liked it, you can just click on each image and we already know how to change images and text and all that stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and exit out and click on the starter templates icon to add a new section. This time, let's go with a testimonial section. So I'm just going to click on blocks. I'm going to filter it by testimonials, and we'll just find a good layout that's going to be best for, the testimonials you have and that you want to feature. And that matches kind of the style you already have. So I like this one. I'm going to click there and then import block. Okay, so here we go. And of course, we would just change the headline text over here if you wanted to. Other than that, we need to change the images. So we just click each one. So you'd obviously put in the image of the actual testimonial subject. Okay, so now you'll notice how this is not a perfect circle anymore. And the reason is, I think these images were probably a perfect square, and that's why I did this. And this is a rectangle, so it's making it elongated. All we need to do is match, under image, match the width and the height. So I'm just gonna type in 100 here and then apply, and then that fixes our problem. So we'll do the same with the other ones. Then we would just change the actual testimonial text here. You could put in quotes if you want. Yeah, I've seen people do it to where it's like italic if it's a quote. That looks pretty nice. Then obviously you change the person's name and style too. So what if we wanted this to be our this font right here? So we would just go to typography, and then I'm gonna type in DM serif display rather. Weight normal, bump up the size slightly. Cool. And then in terms of the stars, so this is an actual stars rating widget. So you can choose the rating scale. You can choose how many stars you got. So obviously, if you're putting it on your site, you want it to be 5, right? No one's putting 4-star ratings on their site. So then go up to style and then choose the color. And the best thing to do is actually not to make it kind of branded for your website, because it's going to, psychologically, people are going to trust it a little less. So I just like to go with whatever the rough color is that people would see on Google ratings or Yelp ratings, something like that. So this kind of yellow orange I think is pretty good. And I'm gonna give a little bit more spacing between them as well. I think that looks good. All right, so now I'm just gonna right click copy, right click paste style, right click paste style, and then same with the name, right click copy, right click paste style, and once more. And let's just give these guys all 5 stars too, because the style does not change the actual rating. That's under content. It doesn't change the style. So we got to do that manually. And we'll do the same thing here as well. Okay, now I've got one more cool thing to show you for the homepage. So I want to add a new section. It's going to be a really simple one. We'll just go to our starter templates and then blocks. And then I'm going to look for call to action right here. So I'm just going to do a really simple kind of last call to action. And I think something like this is probably going to be good. So I'm going to click on import block. Now I said it's going to be cool because of what we're going to do in the background. So remember I teased earlier, I'm going to show you how to do a video background. So you're just going to click the section under style. And then under background type, rather than classic where you can choose a color or an image, we're going to click on video. So basically what you have to have here for this to work is a video that you've uploaded to either YouTube or Vimeo. You never want to self-host your own video. It's just going to be too big of a drain on your hosting. So you can either have your own video that you've created, or here's the thing, you actually can use other existing YouTube videos. There is a Creative Commons license on almost all of them, meaning the people who upload the videos to YouTube don't actually own those videos. YouTube does, and YouTube does allow you to embed that video on your site. So what you want to do ideally is find either a whole video or a little clip that's about 15 to 30 seconds that shows what you want it to show. So for instance, we're right here on YouTube. I'm going to do a search for, let's say, Office stock video free. I'd like to search the word stock video because that's going to give us these videos that are made for this specific purpose. And they're generally like the people who made them are totally okay with you using them. So what you want to do is, again, find a whole video or an isolated clip within a video. Like this one probably has about 10 different little scenarios in it. You'd find one that works. You would just go ahead and you would copy the URL up here. So I'm going to do a copy on that. And see here how it says no copyright. So this is totally free and clear to use, in case you were wondering. Okay, so I'm going to close out of here. So then under background and then under video link, we are going to paste the video URL. But remember how I said you can choose a clip within it. So let's say we don't want to use this part. We want to use a specific part. And I've isolated a part already from 54 seconds to 76 seconds. And it is all in seconds, by the way, not minutes. So you might have to do some math. So this guy with his dog, perfect. That's exactly the story we want to tell here. But notice how the text and everything doesn't really pop on this. We want to knock the video back a bit so that everything else is more of the star attraction. So to do that, again, we need that background overlay. So I'm just going to click there. We'll do a classic solid color. I've got a color picked out here already. This kind of nice, almost black, but a little bit blue. And then we'll play around on the slider till it looks exactly like how we want it to look. And I think that looks pretty nice. So from here, all we need to do is mess with the content. We, of course, would put in our new headline. And then I'm going to repaste our same call to action button. So again, copy, right click, paste, then I delete this one, and then I'm going to delete these. I will show you how to use these social icons a little bit later. It is a pretty cool widget that you have access to, but for now we don't need it. Right click, delete. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got so far for our homepage, starting with the top. We've got a nice hero section. Scroll down, we've got all the features, all the benefits, services, another little section, testimonials, and finally a call to action. So I think this is looking pretty good. One thing left to do though, this is really important before we move on, and that's to make sure that our page looks as perfect as it can look on our mobile devices too. And they've made it really easy on you, not only to preview it, but all these blocks that are pre-made that we've been using, they've already pretty much been pre-worked out to look good on all devices. So we're not going to have a lot of work to do here. Just go down here to where it says responsive mode. You're going to click that. And this is going to open up your mobile view. So and anytime you want to take a really good, like actual true view look at it, we do have to collapse this because there's a few little things that it'll show when in editing mode that we don't want to see. But I think this can use a little bit of cleanup. We'll get to that. Other than that, let's take a look. Maybe this as well. So it looks pretty good. Services. See what I mean though? Everything has been pretty worked out already, so there's not a whole lot of work for us to do. But let's go ahead and do a little cleanup. I think that this headline looks fine. I think this one's a little too big. So I'm going to click on it, and then we go to style. So basically, we can now start making little tweaks to our styles that will not affect what we've already done in desktop. That will remain unchanged, but it'll just modify the styles for mobile. So we really have tight control over that. So let's go to typography. And then anytime you see this little mobile icon next to something, that means we're only editing it in that view. So for instance, on size, I feel like that's a little too big. So let's do something like, I think maybe that looks good. And then maybe we'll make this slightly bigger. So I'm going to click on that. style, typography. Let's go ahead and make that text bigger. So we have a good hierarchy between this and this. Let's take a look. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Now we want to edit this section really fast. So I'm going to open this up. Okay, so basically what we probably want to do here, we could do a few things. We could change the positioning of this background image so it's not competing so much, or we could make it super tiny so it's kind of gone. We can play around with that. So let's click on the section. We'll go to style. Now image, so we could choose a different image if we wanted to do that, but I don't think we need to. I'm going to go to position and I'm going to go to custom and I'm going to start moving it around just to see what it might look like if we did, let's see, something like this. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that works in this specific case. But the other thing you could do is, let's just say you wanted it to kind of go away. You can go to size, you could do custom, and you could just make it like 0. And that just gets rid of it completely. But I'm not going to do that. We're going to go back. And by the way, anytime you need to do an undo of something, just go down to history and you can go back all through the different stages you went through. It's kind of a nice feature. Okay, so another thing I'm seeing is obviously this text is quite large and it's not working out here. So I'm just going to click on that, then go to style, typography, and then we'll just start kind of playing around with what looks good. I actually kind of like that with the question mark on the next line, but that's a judgment call up to you. We could be all on 3 lines, but I kind of like that. So let's keep looking. All right, I think we are pretty good to go at this point. Oh, the other thing is this is going to, you'll see this is playing in our editing mode, but if you look at the real view, it's not going to play. The reason is most video here is by default set to not play on mobile. Which is, it's up to you if you want it to or not. It can be a usability issue. But if you wanted it to play on mobile, you would just click here on play on mobile. It would be a yes. Or you could set a fallback image instead. So let's go and let's say we didn't want it. We'll click on no to play on mobile. And then we would go down to background fallback. So we would basically be choosing an image to play instead of, or an image to show rather, instead of the video. So we'll just find that. That way we've got a nice fallback for people on mobile. So I think this page looks pretty good on mobile as well. Ideally want to do the same thing on tablet. So you would just switch to tablet and you can make those same kinds of tweaks that way. But you already know what to do. We're going to move on to our next page. So in order to do that, we just want to click on update. We need to make sure we save all of our work before we move on. And then once it's updated, we're going to click on this little preview changes icon. It's a little eyeball at the bottom so we can see our homepage. But the reason we're here is not to admire our work, but to get back to our main navigation where we can go to our next page and start working on that. So I just clicked on About, and then the fun begins. We can click on Edit with Elementor again. Okay, so this should look very familiar. We're in the same kind of position we were before. We've got the stage over here, the sidebar over here, but now we're on our About page. So again, we just want to go section by section, modifying sections we can work with, deleting ones we can't, and then adding new ones in. So let's just start with the top. We'll click on the headline and we'll edit that. About Us, very simple, and we'll change the background image. Click on the section. And then under style, so you've got options here. This doesn't have to be a background image. You could basically get rid of the image altogether and then just make it a color if you wanted to do that. But in this case, let's go ahead and choose an image. So I'm going to click on Choose Image, and I've got one right here I want to use. So I'll click on Insert Media. And remember how I said I like the images to kind of stay in place while everything else scrolls around it. So again, to do that, we just go to Attachment, Fixed, and that solves that. So we scroll down and it scrolls along with us. Now, what if this is too tall? What if this is just taking up too much space, which I kind of think it is. So all we need to do is go to Advanced, and you'll see it's already got a bunch of padding on it. So it has 230 on top, 190 on bottom. So let's go ahead and just see what it looks like if we change it to like 150 and 150. And we'll expand it out. See, I think that looks fine. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. And I'm gonna remember what I made those. I'm gonna remember 150 and 150 so we can do the same thing on the rest of our pages so they all match. So you might just wanna jot it down on a Post-it or an index card or something. All right, so moving on down the page. So I think that this works pretty well as an About Us page. We can have a little just kind of introductory text, and we can, have a few other spaces as well. So let's just go ahead and start customizing what we've got, starting with the headline. And then let's go to style. I'm going to fix the line height issue again, 1.1. I'm going to delete the little divider. They love their dividers on this. And then we would just change the text here. This is in two separate text editors for some reason. They don't have to be. You could totally delete this and then just keep writing in this text editor and it would be fine. Now you could obviously change the image here. We know how to do that. We would just click on choose image, but I actually want to do something different. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and go back to our widgets. Let's say you had a great About Us video or something like that. So you would just take the video widget, you would drag it right on over. And again, you want to use a video that's been uploaded to YouTube or Vimeo. I recommend YouTube for SEO value because Google owns YouTube, so remember that. And then you would just paste in the actual web address where that YouTube video lives. And then if you want to get rid of this little watch on YouTube thing, just click on hide under player controls. And that's much cleaner. And then you would obviously, if you had content to go into these spaces, you could put it in there. We know how to do that. But I think I'm actually going to get rid of it. And I'm going to add something else right up here. So under widgets, I'm going to look up icon list. I'm going to drag that right on under here. And I actually think I want another headline above this. So we could drag a headline over and then change it. Or I'm just going to do a right-click copy, right-click paste. And then we got to drag it into the right position. There we go. And I'm just going to change it. If I wanted that to be a little smaller, I might see what an H3 looks like. I think that looks better there because we have an H2 and then the H3 goes under it. It just kind of makes sense. Okay, so let's say you've got a little list of, how you excel as a business. These could be features or benefits or something. So all you would do is you would go up over here to the icon list. They're each individual elements. So then you just edit them one by one. So list item 1, you can choose whatever icon you want. I think just having a check mark on all of them probably looks best. You would change the text of it right here. So I'm just going to go through. I'm going to change the icon on this one to a check mark. There we go. And we can even change the color of the icons. If we go to style, go to icon, I'm going to maybe choose our blue color. All right, I like that. So now I'm going to add a new section. And obviously you would add whatever section works best for your content, right? So hope you're getting that by now. And then we're just going to click on starter templates. I'm going to choose a nice new section that's going to fit the content that we have. All right, I like this one, so I'll insert that by just clicking import block. Okay, so again, we just start editing our headline. We can edit the style, typography, let's make it slightly bigger. And line height, let's take it back to 1.1. And I'm going to delete these elements. I don't think we need them, but if you wanted them, you could obviously customize those yourself. Then we would just go bit by bit. You would put in your own text over here. Same thing here, 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 and here. So let's just go ahead and customize the color here. I'm going to go with our yellow color, and I'll do a copy and then a paste style. And then let's change the background color here. So let's click on the whole section, and under style, let's start with like our button color, but then let's go darker. So this is something you can always do. You can take colors you already have and just like kind of riff off of those and just go slightly darker, slightly lighter. That way it matches, or I could even go a little bluer with it. I might want to do that, more like a navy. Yeah, I think like that looks pretty nice to me. Okay, one last section. Let's have a meet the team section. So let's say you want to have, show your 3 founders or something, 3 team members right here. All we need to do is, again, we go on starter templates and we'll go to blocks. And then under team, I'm going to try to find one that looks the closest to how we want it to look. So any of these you couldn't go wrong with. So it's just a matter of your own personal taste, obviously. So I'm just going to go nice and simple with this one right here and then import block. Then again, we just start with modifying the headline. And then we just change each individual image, name, job title. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. We already know how to do that. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through it. So now let's talk about these social icons. I remember I promised you that. So if you ever want to use these on your site, it's really easy. There is actually a widget for that. So you just type in social icons and you would drag that into place. But this particular block already had that. So what you do is you just click on the element and it has all of them together. So you can add new ones, you can replace them. Obviously Google Plus is no longer a thing. So let's say we wanted to switch this with LinkedIn. We would just click on icon library and type in LinkedIn to try to find it. And there it is. And then click on insert. And then you would just put in the link under link for each one. So you'd go to Facebook, you'd put in the link to the profile, Twitter, same thing, and then LinkedIn, obviously. And now we can change how they look as well by going up to style. And so you've got some choices here. What we have here is custom, meaning there is a color that has been chosen for all of them. And you can very easily change that here under primary color. So if we wanted them to be a color we already have, like this blue color, we could do that. Or we can have it be the official color of the individual social media platform. So like if it was YouTube, it would be YouTube Red, for instance. I personally like it to be more custom though. I don't generally want the icons to compete for attention, asking people to leave your website. So I'd keep that in mind. And then you can change the sizing here. You can change the spacing between them, the padding within the icon itself. So there's lots you can do, but I'm going to go ahead and right click copy and then paste style, and one more time. And obviously you would just change all the links for each individual team member as well. And if let's say you only had 2 members you wanted to show, all you got to do is right click, delete. That'll get rid of this whole column. So now you're left with 2, or I'm going to do a Command Z and undo that. Let's say you had 6 team members. All you need to do is right click this whole thing here and then say duplicate. Then you'd want to give that a little bit of space between. So you'd make sure this whole section is highlighted. You'd go up to advanced and give it about, I don't know, let's see what 30 pixels of margin looks like on it. You'd probably bump it up to 50. And then, you would just modify each individual thing. And let's say if you had 5, you would just delete this top one. Then you've got, the 2 primary team members and then people under them right here. So all extremely customizable. So here's our first interior page. We have about us. We've got our little section here with a video or an image. It's up to you. Then a next section, and then finally a meet the team section. So I think this is good. I think we're ready to move on. Again, we want to always click on update. We want to save our changes. Otherwise, you're going to be very disappointed when all your hard work is gone. Okay, so how do we get to our next page to start working on that? Again, remember we have to go to preview changes, because we have to get back to our menu, and we'll just go to our next one, services, and then edit with Elementor. And here we go again. Okay, so here we are on services. And again, I do want to stress, if you don't have a services page, that's okay. Just figure out whatever page you do have that you need to tackle next. You'll change the text here. You'll either work with what's here or you'll add new sections to fit your content. So you're not stuck with what they give you in terms of page titles. So let's start with the top section. We could either change the title here, but I think services works. Let's change the background image now. We know how to do that. This whole section, style, choose image, and let's go with this one right here, insert media, and then attachment fixed. That'll give us this nice effect here. And then remember, if we want to make this a little less tall, we want to kind of shorten it up a bit, all we got to do is go to advanced. And remember, we figured out that 150 and 150 is good, at least for me, but it can be whatever you want it to be. So Just helps to keep it written down so it's consistent across the board. Okay, so now we've got our next section, and I think we can actually work with this. So I'm just going to edit the headline. And then on style, adjust the line height again. I'm going to delete the divider, right click delete. And then if you had any little description here, you would put that here, or you could just right click delete that as well. I'll go ahead and keep it. So let's start with these individual boxes. So if this is our services page and we want to show our different services, let's say we have 4 of them, we would just go one by one, adding them in. So we'd click the text, and then over here, we would change the title and description. And the same over here. Okay, so I've changed all of those. Now, if you want to change the style, you just click on it, go up to style. Let's say I want to change the headline text. So under style, I'm going to scroll down to content and title, and I'm going to go to typography. I'm going to choose our Spartan font that we were doing. I think that looks good. So once I like it, I'm going to right click copy, right click paste style, and again, and one more time. From here, we just need to swap out the images. So I'm going to click this first one. I'm going to choose one right here and then insert media. And I don't know how well you can see in this video, but the color is slightly off from here to here. The reason is on some of these templates, for some reason, they have modified basically what the image looks like through CSS. That sounds scary, it's not. So all you need to do is go to advanced. So if you notice the colors in your photos look kind of strange. Oh, I'm sorry, not advanced. We're going to go to style. They've applied a CSS filter to it, which basically messes with, they've adjusted the saturation, the contrast, brightness. We want to just put it back the way it was, but keep in mind that's something interesting you can always do. You can always kind of play around with these things if you know what you're doing. I don't recommend doing it if you don't. But anyway, we're just going to put it back to default by clicking that icon right there. And you'll notice this also has this weird kind of little shape behind it. I think it's a background, like a drop shadow they've put on it. So we can either modify the drop shadow or get rid of it. So under style, we have box shadow. Let's click there. So, you can move the horizontal, you can move it vertically, you can blur it more so it's more like a true shadow, but I'm just gonna actually get rid of it. I don't think it's necessary. And let's bump up the border radius to 20 so it matches what we have on that other page. So I'll just do a quick copy, paste style, and once more, and then I'll just change these images out real quick and we can move on. I think that's looking pretty good. So now let's move on to our next section. I think we can actually work with this one. I think it might look good if we had it in our pricing section, and we can keep what you get here. That's fine. So I'm just going to work with what we got. Change the headline, and I'll delete the divider. Going over here, you would just change the text as necessary. I might change this to match this text actually. So I'm going to click here, style, typography, Spartan, and I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to do a copy, paste style. So I think we are pretty good to go with our next page. Before we move on though, we do have to make sure, we have to reality check it and make sure it looks good on our mobile devices. So we go down to responsive mode, and then we just go through bit by bit and see how it looks. So far so good. I think this all looks fine. Our pricing, what you get, yeah, perfect. Not much to do there. So I think we can click on update and then preview changes so we can move on to the next page, which would be projects. But I'm actually going to show you how to change this to something else in case you don't really have projects to show. So we just have to click on Edit with Elementor and we can get started. So this is a great opportunity to show you basically how you can just take any page that they give you and change the content to make sure that it can fit whatever it is you need. So for instance, if you don't have necessarily a need for an Our Projects page, what if you want to show testimonials? What if you have case studies, that kind of thing? So I'm going to just change this headline to client success stories. And then of course we'll change the background, go to style. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and shorten this up a bit as well to match the others. Go to advanced, and we decided on 150 and 150. But what if, and this will come up every now and then, what if we don't like the placement of people's faces in this, or whatever it is in the image? What if it doesn't quite, we want to see more of her whole face? Here's how we change it. We go back to style, where we chose the image, then under position, you can play around with all these different things, or I like to just go to custom. I think it's fastest. And then we can just kind of drag it around to how we want it to be. I think something like that's a little bit better. And then of course, we also want to put it on fixed, so it stays in place as we scroll. Okay, so for this page, I'm going to assume we want to start completely from scratch with none of this base content. So let's just go ahead and get rid of all of it. I'm going to exit out, one more time. And we have a nice blank page to start from. So I'm going to actually start the page with a nice little case study section. So maybe you've helped clients out and you want to show the results you've gotten for them. I'm going to click on starter templates, go up to blocks. Now there's no case studies thing here. So we just have to find a format that's actually going to work for us. So I'm just going to browse through here. I know what the content already is going to be. You should know what your content's going to be too. And then I'm just going to find something that's going to fit the best. Okay, so I like this one right here. It's a services one. So if let's say we have 2 case studies we want to show, we just pop this guy in and import block. Okay, so now I'm just going to change this text to say case studies. Then we have basically 2 to show. So with little buttons that would lead to an actual dedicated page telling more of the story, right? So let's go ahead and change the image first. Then we would change the headline, maybe to the name of the business. And go ahead and comment below if you get that little reference. If you do, we'll get along just fine. And then I would probably add some kind of little, teaser text here. And then for the Book Now button, I'm going to change that to see the full story. And I'm going to change the style. I'm going to make the text color just kind of really dark gray, not quite black. And then the button color, I'm going to make our yellow color that we've saved. So all we're really doing here, again, is we're choosing the right kind of content block that fits the best. And then we're just lightly customizing it as we go. So let's go on to the next one. So let's choose this image and we'll swap it out for another. Change the headline. And while we're on a roll, why not stick with a theme, right? So, and then this button, I'm going to style similarly. I'm going to go to style. Text color, I'm going to choose a similar kind of, ideally I should just choose one color and save it. I'm just kind of going fast here. And then color, let's choose our light blue color this time. And then of course content, we're going to change it to our new text. And then we'd obviously link it up with, if you have that page, you would put that link right in here under content. So this is what we've got so far. So it's a client success story. So the way I have this laid out is it starts with the case studies, then maybe we have a featured testimonial followed by more testimonials. So this is a really good all-purpose page. So let's go ahead and add in a featured testimonial. Again, starter templates, blocks. I'm going to type in testimonial. Let's see what pops up. If we have a good layout. I'm not actually seeing what I want here. I'm going to go to single quote and see if I can find something better for our featured. All right, so I'm just going to go with this one right up top and then import block. Okay, so what I want to do is actually put it, like, let's say I've got a great image of that person and I want to include it in the background rather than right here. I'm going to delete the little image there. I would change the quote right here. And I'm going to change the style too. I'm going to go to typography. I'm going to make it more normal, not so bold. And I do think that's slightly hard to read. So I'm going to change the font as well to our Spartan font. I think that's actually much better. Obviously, this is like an image of a signature, which you're probably not going to have. So we would probably just delete this and go up to, drag a new text editor in and just write their name, and then go to style. text color white so it really pops. Center it, and then typography, let's go ahead and make it bigger. Okay, so now let's put in the background image. I'm going to click on the section, style, and then insert media. Okay, so here we have an instance of this image is way too big. So how do we deal with that? So basically under background image, there's a thing called size. So this is default. What I like to do is cover. That makes it just big enough to cover the entire section. And then I'm going to attach it to fixed. So I think that looks pretty good, but we can't read this. So we need to knock this back a bit. And remember, we do that with a background overlay. So let's go under background, we go to background overlay, classic, solid color. And I'm just going to choose kind of a nice dark blue, almost black. And then I'm going to make it a little more opaque, something like a 0.75. So by the way, if this goes all the way up to 1, it's completely covered. And 0, it's nothing at all. So I think something about like 0.75 is going to look great. If I want to change the color of these little quotation marks, they're just icons. I'm going to go up to style. I'm going to choose our gold color. And then let's actually make it a little transparent. How about something like that? Looks pretty good. So I'll right click copy, right click paste style over here so it matches. And we are now good to go. So let's actually add in another section that has more testimonials to it. So again, case studies, featured testimonial, like your best one that you want everyone to see, then all the masses of testimonials. So let's just go back to starter templates, blocks. We'll look for testimonials this time. And you know what? I think I actually want these to match what we have on the homepage exactly. Because if you remember, on our homepage, we have a testimonial section right here. So in this case, since I already have this made, I'm just going to do a right click on the section, copy, then you go back to this page, right click, paste. And then you'd fill in each detail. You would just choose the image, you would change the text and the name. I'm actually going to do this one more time. I'm going to do an edit, paste, so that we have now 2 rows of these. And you could keep going on if you wanted to have 3 or 4 rows as well. So I think all this is missing is a little headline and a little bit of breathing room here. So I'm going to go to our widgets, take our heading and drag it right about here. I'm going to switch it to say what our clients say. I'm going to align it to the center. And I'm also going to give this some breathing room, like I said. So I'm going to choose the whole section, go up to advanced, padding, let's say 50, except we don't want it on the sides too. So unlink the values, padding on top 50, bottom 50. All right, so now let's take a look at what we've got. Nice header. Case studies, people can click through to read the real case study. You just have to make those pages. By now you should know how to add something like that. Then featured quote, then more testimonials. I think it's looking pretty good. So we're going to open it up. We're just going to see what it looks like on mobile by clicking down here. One last reality check. Okay, so we've got an issue here. Remember how we moved this image because we wanted the woman's face to be able to show up? Well, it's come to bite us here, so we just have to modify it for mobile view. And all we need to do is click the section, go to style, and then under image, position. And again, we're seeing the mobile phone here, so we know we're only editing this part in mobile. Go down to custom. Oh, there we go, and it already kind of fixed it for us. So I think that looks much better. And now we've got our Vandelay Industries case study. We've got our Creamerica. We've got this guy. What if we wanted the guy's face to show, though? This is another instance of the image not lining up on mobile. So all we need to do is choose the section. And again, under image, position, custom. This time, rather than going up and down, we're going to go left to right, which is the X value. Y moves up and down, X moves left to right. So something about here. Maybe so his face is kind of off to the side so we can see it. So now I just want to make this name smaller because it's on 2 lines and it doesn't need to be. So I'm going to click the pencil, style rather, typography, and then make it just big enough to fit the column width. All right, that looks better. Our client says, so now we've got all these testimonials. Looks pretty good to me. All right, so if there's no further changes to be made, we're just going to click on update to save all of our changes. And then time to work on our next page. So we're going to click on the preview changes. And now it's time to tackle our contact page. So just click on that and then on Edit with Elementor. Okay, so let's just get started on customizing this page. So obviously we do the same thing. We can change the text by clicking on it over here. I think contact us is fine, or it could even be something like, let's work together. And then we already know how to change the background image. We just click on the section, style, choose image, and I'll choose this one right here, insert media. All right, and then let's go down over to advanced. And again, we're gonna tighten this up to 150 on top, 150 on bottom. Oh, we forgot to do the make the image fixed. So we need to go back to style and then attachment fixed. And then we probably wanna mess around with the top and bottom positioning. So let's drag it to about here. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so now we can get going on our actual content for this page. So again, it's a headline you can change if you want to. And then over here, it's got space for your address if you want to include that. Email us. I do not ever recommend listing your email address. It's going to lead to a lot of spam, but that's completely up to you. So I'm just going to do a right-click delete on that. And then any of these elements you can just click on, change the title and description, go up to style. You can change the font, the size of it, anything you want to. We already know how to do that. And then here is the social icons. So this is a good place for them, I think, on the contact us page. So we're just going to click on that element. And this is the same way we did it on the Meet Our Team section on the About Us page. So we have each of the social media platforms listed here. We can add some if we need to. So I'm just going to go to the icon library. Let's type in YouTube. We've got that one. We'll insert that. And then all we need to do is add in the links here. So HTTPS. So it should be formatted like this for your specific social profiles. And you can mess around with the shapes too. So we have circle. We can do square. We can do rounded. So it's basically like a square but rounded edges, which I think actually looks pretty good here. And then we'll go up to style. And here's where we can decide if, remember how I said these can be a custom color like they seem to be here, or they could be the official color of each one of these platforms. But again, I like it to be custom. I don't want to entice people to click off. So then you would set the primary color with this. So let's just see what we've got. We can do the blue color we've already established. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Now it's time to tackle our actual contact form. So this is going to be done slightly differently than what we've been doing so far because we do have to exit Elementor to actually make this work. So before we leave though, let's click on Update and we're going to exit back into WordPress. So we're going to click on these 3 lines, exit to Dashboard. Then we're going to click on the WordPress icon. Then we're going to go down to WP Forms. This is the plugin that handles the contact form. So we're just going to go over to all forms and we've only got one. So we're going to click on edit. So here's where you can decide what kinds of things you want to ask for. You can drag in all these different elements. You could drag in a drop-down list. For instance, like if you wanted to ask people what their budget is, you could just click and edit that. So it could be, budget A, budget B, and so forth. But I'm going to delete that. We don't really need it. I'm going to click on OK. Now, in most cases, this is all I recommend asking for is name, address, message. But I'll leave it up to you if there's anything here that you really want. So basically, we can click on any of these to edit them. Things like the label, the description, whether it's required or not. And then under advanced options, we have the placeholder. So you'll notice it doesn't have a your name field above it. It just has placeholder text. So we could change this to something like first name if you wanted to. So it's really customizable like that. And the next thing we need to do, let's just go ahead and click on save real quick. And then we still have to add one extra thing here, and that's we need to make this form actually send to your email address. We haven't done that yet. So it doesn't just know to do it automatically. So we need to go over to settings and then notifications. So this is the email address that when someone fills out the form on your website, this is the email address that is going to send to. So that needs to be your email or someone within your company who is set to receive all these emails. So it'd be, for me, hello@wesmcdowell.com. Email subject. So this is what's going to show up in the subject line when you get these emails. So I like to name this something like new website request or new consultation request, whatever that would look like for you. So from name, remember if you did not change anything on that form, the from name was the first field, otherwise known as 0. So you'd want to keep that there. That means when it shows up in your inbox, it will show as being from Bob or from Karen, whoever filled out the form. Then the from email, this is going to be yours again. It's kind of confusing, but it needs to be your email address again. And then the reply to email address, as long as you didn't change anything in there and the email address is the second field, then this is correct. So it's going to reply back to their email address that they popped in there. Then you'll keep all fields as is, and we're going to click on save one more time. Okay, still with me? So now we're going to X out of here and we're going to go back to that page. So just go up to pages and then contact, edit with Elementor. Okay, so now this is all ready to go, but you'll notice that this button is not quite looking right. It's the pink color that it came with. So the way we change that is we have to go up to our global settings. So go up to the 3 lines up here, then site settings and buttons. So here's where you'll choose the background color. So we're just going to give it our button color that we have everywhere else so it all matches. So now we're pretty much done, but again, we want to give this one final reality check and check responsive. So before we do though, I'm going to click on update right here to save our button color change. I'll X out of here. And now we'll go down to responsive mode. Okay, so again, remember we changed the positioning of that image. So we're gonna click the whole section, go to style, image position. Let's just do center. That's probably gonna take care of it. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's check everything else out. This all looks pretty good. The form fields are nice and big. People's thumbs can fit in there easily. All right, cool. I think this all looks pretty good. So let's just go ahead and back out of here. We'll click on update and we'll go back to our desktop view because here's where we're at right now. We have all of these pages accounted for, but you probably want to have some kind of a blog section on your website. I highly recommend it. It's great for SEO value, and it's also just great from a content perspective. So I'm going to show you now how to add a blog to your website. And obviously we need to add a new page, so we can't just click on one of these and go right to it. So here's what we got to do. We have to go back to WordPress. So exit to dashboard and then click on WordPress again. Okay, so we do need a plugin to make all this work. So we're going to go down to plugins, add new, and we're going to search for one called Premium Add-ons for Elementor. Okay, so it's this one right here, and we just click on Install Now, and then on Activate. Okay, so now we're ready to go over to Pages, and all we're going to do is we're going to duplicate one of the pages we already have, and that's what we're going to start working on. So let's just go to, what's our simplest page we've done so far? Maybe our About Us page. So we're just going to click on PA Duplicate, and we'll just do a quick edit here, and we're just going to rename this Blog. And this is important, we have to change the status to Published. And then we're going to click on Update. And that's basically the process anytime you want to create a new page. I just like to duplicate an existing page and then work on it from there. So here's the thing we need to do now. Before we can actually start designing what our blog page looks like with like our listing of all our latest blog posts, we need to have a few blog posts in here so we can see what we're doing. So all we need to do now is go to Posts, and it always starts you off whenever you install WordPress. It always starts you off with this Hello World post. It's just the default one. So we're going to go in and edit this one. And all we need to do is, for our designing purposes today, is set the featured image. So we are going to choose an image for that, then click on Update. The reason we're doing this is so that we want 3 blog posts, each with an image associated with it. So we're just making these dummy posts for that reason. So now I'm going to go back, and we're going to do a PA duplicate, and one more time. So now we have 3 blog posts. I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick edit on each one. And status published, update, and again here, and published, update. Okay, so now we have 3 blog posts, each with an image in it. It's the same image in each of them, but that's fine for our designing purposes. So now let's just go back to Pages, Blog, and then Edit with Elementor. We're now ready to actually get this thing designed. All right, so first things first, we're going to get rid of all this content underneath the top section here. Okay, and then we're going to change this to, it can either say blog or something like that. And we'll go ahead and change the background image. And now we're just going to go up to widgets, and I'm going to type in blog. So this is what we're looking for, premium blog. The reason we had to add that plugin is because you need the paid version of Elementor to do this, but this is kind of a workaround. So, and it's free. So we're going to drag premium blog right into place here. All right, so now we have all 3 blog posts accounted for here. And if you had more than that saved already, there would be more than that here, but this is all we've got. So, and there really are a million ways to customize this. So let's just get going with that. So under content, we've got different skins. So we have classic, we have modern, we have cards, on side, or banner. So, and that's just the beginning. So the first step is really choosing which overall layout you like best. I'm going to go with classic for our case. I think it works the best for most of you. You can do things like masonry. So basically what that would be is, let's say this image was a lot taller than this one. It wouldn't necessarily be in a grid. It would be kind of, think of like when you go on Pinterest. That's how things are organized there in a masonry format. So, but feel free to play around with that. We can change the number of columns. I think I'm actually going to put it on 3 columns. I think that looks nice. Then if we go down to display options, we can mess with the spacing between the rows and the columns. So let's see what 20 looks like. And you generally do want to keep these even because then it feels more like a grid. Then if you go down to post options, we can decide what gets shown here. I think there's a lot of information here that does not need to be conveyed. So if people don't need to know the name of the author, you can get rid of that. I usually recommend getting rid of the date because it can really date a piece of content. If it came out 2 years ago, it's a lot less appealing. So I like to just generally hide the date. And if you make your posts in different categories, that can be helpful to include that. And then comments, depends on if you choose to include comments or not. But just for the sake of being clean, I'm going to turn that off for now. All right, so now let's get to style in this. So let's go up to style, and starting with the title, we can change the typography of that, of course. And I might make the size slightly bigger. I might make the weight normal, not bold. And then of course you can change the color too, just by clicking here. I might make it kind of that dark charcoal color. And then you can do the same thing with the metadata, which is this uncategorized. Any of that text that was here, the author name, any of that stuff would be changed here. And then under content box, this is where you would change the text color of the actual preview of the text. You can change the background color of it. Let's say you wanted it to be, I don't know, that, or just pure white if you wanted. You could then add a box shadow. I think that's kind of a cool look too. So then if this is white, you could actually go down to box and give this a box shadow around it. And you can make it a little less obvious if you wanted to. Just kind of drag this down a bit. And I think this actually looks pretty nice and clean if we take a look. So then of course what you'd be looking at here if this were real is all 3 of your blog posts with their associated featured image. We just use the same image for all 3 of these, that's why it's the same. But then you would click on each one of these and it would take you to that individual blog post. So let's go ahead and make sure this looks good on mobile too by going down to responsive mode and taking a look. So let's see what we've got. Yep. All looks pretty good to me. I think we are ready to continue. So just click on update and we'll continue on with the next step. Okay, we're almost finished. There's just one more step we need to take, and that's customizing your header and footer. So just click right here and that'll take you to the next video where we'll quickly and officially finalize your brand new website with a beautiful, fully functional header and footer. So just click right here and we'll wrap this sucker up.